and I will never vex her again. I will hang my mantle where it belongs. I will fetch kindling. I will sweep. But her mind was strong and knew better. Why would her mother have sent a spell of protection upon her if the thatch had caught fire? Instead, her mother would have sent a call for help. Whatever had happened, Ro knew, was no accident. Already knowing what she would find, Rosemary inched closer, forcing her staring eyes to study the blackened ground. There. Hoofprints. Horsemen. In other words, the Lord's henchmen. Her mind tried to say that the marauders might have taken her away, but in her heart, Rosemary knew her mother was dead. Dead when the spell of protection had ended. Her knees weakened and would no longer support her. She folded to the ground, her thoughts like flames that leapt and twisted and would not stand still. Her mother, Celandine, a flower of a woman always dressed in green, cut down. Her mother killed just for hatred, because she was the woodwife. It was not the village folk who had done this. They understood the power of wood's magic. They came to Celandine for salves and healing herbs and wisdom, bringing butter or a few eggs, even though no payment was necessary, they knew. But the castle folk on horseback, they would never understand. Ro wanted to weep, but could not. It was as if the fire had scorched her heart and turned it as hot and hard as the stones of the cracked, ruined hearth. Her mother. Dead. The flames wavered and went out. Ro sat and stared at the ashes as the tree shadows shifted and embers flickered like her thoughts. Where would she go now? How would she live? It was hard to think with grief settling in her hard and heavy like a rock. But she knew she had to think if she were to survive. How to go on? How to live? There was no easy answer. Not for her, a girl of 13. Well, she mumbled to herself, I could be a privy cleaner, I suppose, or a chimney sweep. There were no good perchances. She could stay where she was, in the forest glade, with a spring of clear water. She could build a hut to replace the cottage. But likely the horseman would come to burn her in her turn, thinking she was another woodwife. Or she could go to the village, and perhaps someone would be brave enough to take her in. But within a year, the Lord would be sending for her, exercising his claim on the maidenhead of every lass in his domain. And then she would be wed to whatever man the Lord chose for her, whether she liked it or not. And for the rest of her life, she would belong to the man, his chattel, to labour for him, just as his cow and his ox were his chattel. And those were the only perchances for her, assuming that she did not really wish to become a privy cleaner or a chimney sweep, or a beggar wandering the commons and byways. Except there was one more thing she might do. A perchance so chancy, so secret, so much a dream, that she only let the thought flicker for a moment before she snuffed it out as if it burned. But the thought returned, and took the form of 2 perilous words, and they kept coming back, a little longer each time. My father. For a long while she sat. The sun had slipped far down the sky, and the shadows had lengthened before she stirred. Stiffly, she got up. Beside her stood her basket, half filled with the colt's foot she had gathered that morning when she had been young and carefree. She picked it up and walked forward into the ashes. They had cooled enough so that they did not burn her bare, tough feet if she picked her way, taking care not to step on embers. Keeping to the thin, whitening ash, she ventured past what was left of the cottage walls, then saw what she was looking for. A charred, human form. When she saw the body, Rosemary felt her legs turn to wood so that she stood still. She felt her throat close, and the grief in her chest